Okay, now that we know how to write scientific notation, and if you don't know how to write it or read it, then you need to go back and watch my videos on scientific notation. But now that we know how to write it and read it, we're going to talk about how do we add and subtract scientific notation. And there's two ways, okay? There's the first way, which I'm going to show you, which is slightly more complicated, okay, but might save you more time. And then there's the just down and dirty method, like I can't remember how all these rules, so I'm just gonna go to this method and do it this way. All right. So first thing is the if we're adding or subtracting, we have to have the same power. Okay. If we want to keep it in scientific notation, so it has to be the same power. So let's take, for instance, let's say we're looking at a population. I've got a population of the United States, all right, of 3.1 times 10 to the 8th power, okay? And we want to add Canada's to that, okay? O Canada. And O Canada has got 3.38 times 10, and I don't know if these are accurate or not. This was in the book, so I'm using it. Of times 10 to the 7th power. Okay, so they're different powers, so we need to make them the same. Okay, and there's two ways. Either we're going to move this decimal on Canada over so that the power is the same. Okay, or we're going to move one of these over on the US in order to make the powers the same, because what we can do is, let me undo that. I always like to go, it's just easier for me to not deal with all the decimal points. So I like to start with adjust the higher power. Okay. So let's start there. What I can do is, it looks like the difference between 8 and 7 is just 1, right? I'm looking at the difference here. So in order to get this to also be 7, I'm going to have to move the decimal point over 1. In this case, I'm going 1 to the right, right? So that 31 times 10 to the 7th. These are equivalent, okay? 3.1, okay? 3.1 times 10 to the 8th is equivalent to 31 times 10 to the 7th. So now they're equal. And guess what? Now I can deal with these numbers separately because they are, or together because they are the same power. So now I can just deal with 31 plus 3.38. Okay, and I'm going to put the decimal points on there. And then once I do the addition, then I can slap back on the 10 to the 7th power. Or, in this case, maybe 10 to the 8th, depending on, since we're adding. So if I add these two populations together, I'm going to get 34.38. Oops, that is a mess. Okay, times 10 to the 7th. Well, we're not quite there because scientific notation requires there will be only one digit to the left. So I'm going to have to move this one over. And as I move this direction to the left, the power gets bigger. So as we go this way with our decimal point, we increase our power. Okay, so here we go. So we end up with, we move it one over and we get 3.438 times 10 to the 8th. And now we have added our two together. Now, what if I wanted to take my new total, okay, and I wanted to subtract Canada, 3.38 times 10 to the 7th. Okay, we would do the same process. Okay, where we get the powers the same, And then instead of adding, we would subtract. So I would probably deal with this one and move this way, because as I go this direction with the decimals, it goes down in power. So we're only a 1 away. The difference between 8 and 7 is 1. So I just need to move it over 1. So I get 4.38, okay, times 10 to the 7th. And then I'm subtracting 3.38 times 10 to the 7th. Now that they're the same, I can subtract 3. And remember, when we're adding and subtracting decimals, we keep the decimals lined up. So I'm going to subtract 3.38 times 10 to the 7th. Okay? Well, 8 minus 8 is 0. 3 minus 3 is 0. I've got a decimal point here. 4 minus 3 is 1. And 3 minus 0 is 3. And I get 31.00 times 10 to the 7th. So now what I want to do is clean this up. Okay? And the way I clean this up is I want just one digit, right? Just one to the left. So I got to move this to the left one. And like I said earlier, as I move this direction to the left, the power goes up. So I went up 1, and I get 3.1, and then I've got these zeros on the end. 0, 0. I don't need these because it doesn't change the number, right? So we want to get it as clean and concise as possible. I don't want extra zeros in there for no reason. And as my power goes up, right? So I get back to 3.1 times 10 to the 8th. And if we look, I confirm that that's what we started with for the US. Okay? So that is the how you can kind of quickly do that. If you cannot remember that, here's another option. Okay, we'll take that same scenario, 3.1 times 10 to the 8, and we're just going to deal with addition, plus 3.38 times 10 to the 7th. Okay. We can put these two numbers completely into standard notation. Okay? Both of them. Then add them and then put them back. Okay? So the way that would look is I would look at my 3.1 times 10 to the 8th, and I know I'm going to have to move the decimal point over 8 times. Okay? To make this number. Remember, if it's positive, I'm going this direction when I'm converting to standard notation, because this number is going to get bigger. If it's positive, it means it's going to get bigger. If it's negative, it means it's going to get smaller. So I move the decimal place over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so I end up with 3, 1, and then I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 zeros. Okay. And then I'll put the commas in just so that it's easier to track. So it's 310 million. Then I take my 3.38, I'm going to move over 7 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I end up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 zeros. Okay, the reason why I did this way is because I want to just save a little bit of time, and I'm just going to do my 5 zeros. I'm going to write it in backwards so that they're lined up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 3, 3. Okay, with my commas so that everything's lined up. And I can see, okay, everything's lined up. Now I can just add all this up together. And guess what? 0 plus 0 equals 0, so that's easy. 0 plus 8 is 8. 0 plus 3 is 3, 1 plus 3 is 4, and 3 plus 0 is 3. So now I've got my 34380000. So what do? I want to figure out where is my decimal place going. It's going to go right there. So I rewrite this as 3.438. Okay. Now I've gotten rid of, now it's just zeros from here on out, and I'm going to count how many zeros, how many times did I need to move the decimal place to get to that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and that becomes my power times 10 to the 8th, and that is just the most tried and true. You're not going to mess it up method if you just go straight to standard notation and then add them or subtract them.